Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 2 is fully out. I binge watched it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts as a non-book reader. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I am talking about Percy Jackson Season 2. All episodes are now streaming on Disney+, and I'm going to give you my thoughts as someone who's never read the Sea of Monsters book. I have read The Lightning Thief, but I was in 3rd grade, and that was a long time ago. I'm talking decades ago. So I'm not at all well-versed with the books, just kind of viewing this as a movie and TV show fan, giving you my honest take on the newest season of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Now, before I get into this, hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on this season of TV as a book reader, as a non-book reader. I want to know your backstory, where you're coming from with this franchise, and of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified for all of my future videos. But I think that's really all the groundwork. I'm gonna give you some context too before I get into this, all right? So when it comes to Percy Jackson as a franchise, saw both movies in theaters. I actually really enjoyed The Lightning Thief movie when I first saw it as a child in theaters. Having revisited it, I'm aware it is not accurate at all to the book, but I still kind of do enjoy the movie on its own, right? Not as like a Percy Jackson thing, just as a movie. I have some nostalgia for it as well, but I think it's definitely flawed. The Sea of Monsters movie's awful, right? As an adaptation, I've heard, and just in general, just a bad movie in my opinion. So that's where I'm coming from with regard to that. I enjoyed the first season of Percy Jackson on Disney+. I kind of compared it to Sorcerer's Stone in a sense where you can tell it's the beginning of a special adventure, quests, right? Magic is in the air, and these kids probably going to grow into their roles wonderfully. I also wanted to mention, I watched the first episode, and I took a break, and I was like, I'm just going to wait till they're all out and binge it, and that's what I ended up doing. And now that I've seen the whole thing, honestly, I enjoyed it a lot more than season 1 as well. Like, I think this is the significantly better season of television, and kind of just talking like overall positives, enjoyments with this, I was impressed with the upped production quality all around. Like, I believe in season 1, and I know for a fact, actually, they used the volume screen, which like became famous with The Mandalorian, and that technology kind of got outdated real fast. And so in season 2, they went in a lot more on the practical effects side of things, which I greatly appreciate. And this goes for character designs, but also the practical sets themselves. Like, they shot on location for just about everything here, and you can tell that alone takes the show's quality to another level physically, because you're more invested in where they're at. You can become more immersed in this world. I myself was like, oh yeah, I believe they're here. I believe they're on Polyphemus' island. Like, they went in on shooting on location, and that always pays off in my opinion. I kind of tip my hat to them for doing that, and from my understanding, with the same budget, they've just made some different decisions creatively, and they really took the season to another level because of that. Like, all around the production design, the CGI, visual effects, all that stuff better, significantly better here in season 2. The design of Tyson's eye, I thought really shined, but I was even more impressed maybe with the Cyclops design of Polyphemus and how they made him look real. I am beyond excited for The Odyssey, for context. That is my most anticipated movie of the entire year. I'm a Christopher Nolan fanboy at heart, I will admit that. And so to see this season sort of tap into a lot of the Odyssey lore and you know, moments from that story or similar opponents that Odysseus faced, like, I was really just enjoying all that. As just a fan of like movies, TV, and stories, I was like, this is really cool. They're encountering the sirens here. Okay. I like to see them, you know, on Polyphemus' island. There's so much that I was a fan of, and I thought they crushed it with the design of Polyphemus in his entire island, the golden fleece being an object that's, you know, desired in this season. The quest side of things, there was this sense of magic adventure. The stakes were significantly higher, and you can tell the show's also building to a greater threat with like Kronos having more screen presence and then sort of establishing his role in the show, like his corruption of Luke. I dug all that stuff. You're kind of laying, you know, planting the seeds for something that's going to come to fruition later on, as this is the ultimate big baddie of the show, to my understanding of the books and everything from what I gather. And so they've done a good job of like sprinkling Kronos throughout more and more each season, so that when he ultimately shows up, I imagine, I don't know where we're headed, to be honest with you, and I'd say season 5, if they get there, because I know there's 5 books, then it will feel earned, and it will be very rewarding as a viewer to see that finally come to light. Also, I thought the performances all around were better, right? Season 1, they were fine. They were obviously a lot younger. They've definitely grown up and matured a bit, and so they're able to give performances with a little more depth, nuance. I thought, you know, the main trio crushed it. I mean, there were a handful of great performances. Obviously, Walker Scobell as Percy's great. A standout to me is Dior Goodjohn as Clarisse. I really loved her performance. Her character in general was maybe my favorite in season 2. She kind of commanded the screen. She's badass. I was like, hell yeah, Clarisse, multiple times. I also thought we got a lot more Luke this season, sort of the villainous side of him and the mental corruption he's dealing with at the hands of Kronos, slowly kind of spiraling. I thought Charlie Bushnell did great, especially with like the micro facial expressions. There were moments where his like cheek muscles would twitch, and I was like, okay, I see you. And then of course the addition of Tyson, I thought was wonderful because we got to see Percy have a brother, and I have an older brother, and so I was able to kind of relate to just the brotherhood story here. Kind of reminded me of the movie Onward, which I think is one of Pixar's most underrated gems. And there's a strong brotherhood story at the core there, and so I was like eating up the brotherhood story there with Percy and Tyson. It pulled on the heartstrings a few times. And my two favorite episodes, I would say, are episode 4 and episode 6. Episode 4, there's a sequence that reminded me a lot of Maelstrom from Pirates of the Caribbean 3, which is At World's End. That's like the whole final battle with like Davy Jones and Beckett's guys and Jack Sparrow. They're all involved, and their ships are like going around this huge like Maelstrom whirlpool in the middle of the freaking ocean. It's sick. There's a moment similar to that on a smaller scale in the finale, or excuse me, at the end of this episode that was like, oh yeah, this is sick. And it looked fantastic as well. But episode 6 was my favorite. That's where Percy and Annabeth end up on Polyphemus's island, and that's kind of like the crux of this quest they've been on all season long. They finally end up there, and we really get to sort of see it play out. Instead of just kind of being explained by the characters what's happening and what the plan is, like we actually get to see that executed. And so I was by far the most invested in that episode because it felt rewarding. It's like, okay, we finally get the payoff of everything that's been set up, and I get, you know, you need to set things up in your season, but I do feel like kind of getting into some issues. A lot of the season is like characters just sitting around discussing, explaining every little detail, as opposed to letting us just kind of view scenes go down, right? There's a lot of action in this episode, certainly, but also it's nice to just see all this yapping they did go to use. You know what I mean? Like, it was nice to see them get after it on screen and have riveting moments, as opposed to them all just standing around talking about, oh, the prophecy this, the prophecy that. We get to kind of see something in action. It's also where a lot of the characters came together, whereas a lot of time they're kind of separated throughout the season. It was nice to see them all in the same location. But I'll say in the end, I do think that this season did a good job of setting up the third. I'm intrigued to check it out, but I do have some issues I want to get to real quick. One of them being the fact that I think the finale episode, I wouldn't call it underwhelming, but it definitely had a semi-rushed and or abrupt ending to me. Minor spoilers, or I guess straight up spoilers ahead. Probably should have put that up front. There's a moment in this episode where Percy gets knocked out and he wakes up. And then when he wakes up from like this final battle, they're like, yeah, Luke got away and, you know, everyone's gone. And so there was an off-screen resolution. We didn't really get to see any conclusion to the battle on screen. And I was like, dang, that kind of took the wind out of the sails for me a little bit. I was like, that's kind of a bummer. And then like 5 minutes after that, the whole episode ends. There's a huge reveal grand with Thalia that propels us forward in season 3. And I imagine that season 3 will pick up not long after season 2 ends, I would have to guess. So I get it, like, whereas with season 1, it was kind of the end of a school year, I guess a summer, and so characters were going their separate ways for what seemed like almost a year. Here, I'd imagine they pick up not long after the end of the season, if I had to guess. So, like, there was this tension in this final battle, and it kind of conveniently wrapped up in a couple lines, and it happened off screen. I was a little bummed about that, and I also kind of hinted this next point earlier. The whole season, at times, would just over-explain things, and I kind of understand that, because at the end of the day, this is a kid's show. It's on Disney+. I believe it's TV PG. I could be wrong. I understand that it's like the target audience is children, so they have to explain a lot of things, but they can put a little more faith in the audience to connect the dots and put the pieces of the puzzle together, not have to explain every little, you know, idea, every little quest, every little bit of the prophecy. Like, they can kind of have faith in the show itself almost, right? In the audience to pick up on things later on down the line. You can kind of just foreshadow a bit more instead of like dissecting every little aspect of a prophecy or a mission or a quest or whatever it may be. Final points I'll make, I was able to binge watch this show. Had I watched it week to week, I probably would have had a completely different experience and maybe enjoyed it significantly less, because I'm of the opinion that not every show needs to have a weekly release model. To me, Percy Jackson is a perfect binge show. This is a show that I will probably binge till it's done, meaning I'll wait till all the episodes are out, because I think that with the run times being like 30-ish minutes, and, you know, you're not getting the most meat on the bone every week, it just makes a lot more sense to sit down and watch it over the course of 4 or 5 hours, as opposed to stretching out the season for, what, 2 months almost? I would have been kind of upset or disappointed if I watched this over the course of its release, just because every episode might not be the most fulfilling. You finish an episode, you're like, man, I gotta wait 6 days to watch what's next, and you stew on it. And kind of my point, not just for Percy Jackson, but TV in general, and it is kind of a hot take, I acknowledge that I own it, is that weekly release actually kind of kills the momentum of a show. Unless it's an established show, like a Game of Thrones that comes out swinging out the gate, shows don't really warrant having that model unless they have the reputation. And to me, I think Percy Jackson might have actually benefited from dropping all the episodes at once, because then little issues people can stew on for almost a whole entire week. It just kind of builds and builds, whereas if you watch it as one story in one sitting, you're getting all the information at once. You kind of get to see the payoff of the finale. You don't have to wait 2 months in real time. Now, I get the counter is, oh, well, it kills the conversation and the theories and the hype. I understand that. To me, I'm so glad I was able to binge it, because I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I would have had I watched it weekly. having binge watched this season in the course of a day, thoroughly enjoyed my time. I think it's better than season 1. I'm excited to see what's next in season 3, and as someone who really has no clue where the franchise or books head, I'm invested. It's just something that I personally am going to choose to binge watch over watching week to week, and I do that with all shows for reference. There are very few shows where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch this weekly. Now, I get the whole spoiler talk, but for me, if I can avoid it, my preference is always being able to binge watch the shows at my own pace. That way I don't have to wait a whole entire week just to see 30 more minutes of the story play out, if that makes sense. But it's safe to say Percy Jackson and the Olympians season 2, better than season 1. I see the vision, and I'm excited for where we're headed after the big reveal twist at the end of the finale. But what do you guys think of Percy Jackson season 2? Have you read the books? Have you not? Where are you coming from with the show? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think I'm gonna like the future seasons more or less than this one? Hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and be on the lookout for more videos coming very soon. But thank you guys as always for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.